Guess who's back? Back again. Mikey's back. Tell a friend. Hey everybody, here we are with another video for you guys today. And today we're going to be all things Evil Dead. We're going to be talking about Evil Dead Rise and some of my personal history with Evil Dead. But before I go any further, let me just say, if you like this video, any other videos on the channel, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're a really big fan of the content, head over to Mikey J Productions, my main channel, and consider to become a member. We got a great community we're building over there, and I'd love for you guys to be a part of it. We got a great Discord and, the whole shebang. So head on over to Mikey J Productions, and press that join button and, become a member. But I'll be getting in all things Evil Dead after the intro, coming in now.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
America! Demand your...
JP!
I want
MJP!
I want my
MJP!
I want my...
MJP!
Call your cable company and say I want my...
MJP! Let me just start this video by saying that my history with Evil Dead goes back a long time. I've been a fan of this franchise since I was in high school, and the first time I saw Evil Dead, anything Evil Dead, was actually Evil Dead 2, and I saw somebody that was in one of my classes, a fellow classmate. He knew I was into horror, and he says, "You got to check this out." And he gave me a bootleg VHS copy of it that he recorded off of HBO or Cinemax or something like that. And I came to realize later that that was the way a lot of people got introduced to these movies, was through bootlegs like that. So it's interesting that was my my first encounter with the franchise was through that as well. And I gotta say, I immediately fell in love with the franchise. I thought it was very unique, and it was different than anything else I had seen up until that point. And then I made it kind of a personal, goal of mine to go and acquire, as much Evil Dead anything as I could get my hands on. Which, an interesting tidbit, like I said, I first discovered Evil Dead in high school, but before then, I actually, back when I was younger and I read a lot of comic books and stuff, I remember seeing Army of Darkness being advertised in a lot of the comic books that I read in my youth, and I had no idea what it was about. It was definitely a very interesting, movie poster and advertisement they would put in the comic books. So it definitely was interest to me, and I never, and every now and again I would see, people talk about this dude with the chainsaw hand and whatever, and I never really knew what any of that was about. And so when I actually did see Evil Dead 2 for the first time, I was kind of like blown away, and I'm like, I've have images, I've seen bits and pieces of this before, but I never really knew what it was about, and I immediately, wanted to know more. And the first thing I wanted to do, since I saw Evil Dead 2, was I wanted to know what Evil Dead 1 was all about. And let me take a moment and say that here is my copy of Evil Dead 1 on VHS tape, clamshell case, because that after, like I said, after I saw Evil Dead 2, I wanted to know more, and I came across these VHS tapes, and here is Evil Dead 2, which still to this day, Evil Dead 2 is my favorite of the series. To me, it's the perfect Evil Dead movie. It has the perfect mix of both horror and comedy. It definitely has more comedy than Evil Dead 1 did. Evil Dead 1's a straight up horror movie, where Evil Dead 2 is more getting into the horror comedy aspect of it. And then, of course, Army of Darkness. This is, like I said, this is the same image I would see in comic books and stuff. and I mean, how can you not be? I mean, look at that. How does that not like draw attention, especially to a 12 or 13-year-old, or like what is that all about? Um, and Army of Darkness is definitely more science fantasy or more horror fantasy. The way I've always said is Evil Dead 1 is horror. This is a straight horror movie. Evil Dead 2 is horror comedy, and Army of Darkness is more of what I would call just horror fantasy. Like, it's got a lot of fantasy elements in it and everything. But as far as a trilogy goes, I mean, as far as a horror trilogy goes, these three are the best horror trilogy to date. I mean, Army of Darkness wraps it up perfectly. So much so that when Ash vs. Evil Dead came out, I was a little reluctant because I'm like, Army of Darkness wraps it up so perfectly. But I do love Ash vs. Evil Dead as well. Honestly, I've always said I believe that Ash vs. Evil Dead is closer in line with probably Evil Dead 2 than it is with the rest of the franchise, as far as the mix of horror and comedy and stuff like that. And then I have this as well. This is the actual Necronomicon Ex Mortis, roughly translated, the Book of the Dead. And this is a DVD, and it's got all the cool pictures and images that you see in the movies and everything. So, I mean, yeah, like, I'm a big Evil Dead fan. It's definitely one of my favorite horror franchises of all time. And then I played this game on the Dreamcast. When this was brand new is when I got it. To me, this game made the Dreamcast be a system seller, because I was such an Evil Dead fan that I wanted to get my hands on this game. And I still think that this game holds up rather well. The PlayStation 1 version is the version that most people played, and as a result, it's definitely quite a bit inferior to the Dreamcast version. And so a lot of people don't hold the game in such high regard as I do because of the PlayStation version. But the Dreamcast version is quite good. The controls are a little clunky. It's definitely more of a Resident Evil, 1 and 2 kind of, style of game versus, what you see over here beside me with the new game. Which, on a side note, I have gotten back into playing the new game more and more, and I will be having videos coming out on that as well. Now let me pivot into Evil Dead Rise, because that's the new movie that's coming out, and I'm excited about it, and I know a lot of people are as well. The trailer's really grabbing some attention for people out there, which I think is good. That's a good thing. We need stuff like that. And Evil Dead Rise, Bruce Campbell, and I believe Sam Raimi as well, have come out and said that it is the scariest film of the four to date. And I tend to believe them just by looking at the trailer and everything. It's returned things back to the Evil Dead 1, and the 2013 remake kind of vibe, which I think is a good thing for the franchise. Bruce Campbell has officially retired the role of Ash. He says he's too old to run around in basements and get covered in blood anymore. Which it's ironic, since he said that in Multiverse of Madness, because Sam Raimi directed that, Bruce Campbell makes a cameo, and of course he covers him in mustard, which, I think was definitely intentional on Sam Raimi's part. Said, if you're going to be in this new movie I'm doing, you're getting covered in something. But that's their relationship. That's how. I'll leave him at his word that I don't think he's going to appear in this movie, unfortunately. um, and and based upon the tone and everything that you see in the trailer, people have been saying that they think maybe it's a sequel or it's related to the 2013 remake, and that's one of the things I wanted to address in this video, and no, that's not the case. They have come out and said that it is in the universe of Ash Williams, so it is a part of the official timeline that we all know and love. It is not part of the 2013 remake timeline. Which, on a side note, I think as far as horror remakes go, that is definitely one of the better ones out there, for sure. It was hard to kind of start over without Ash, and that's one of the things that I'm, a little bit nervous about for Evil Dead Rise, but at least it's in Ash's universe. And so, maybe we'll see Pablo and Kelly at some point in the future. Who knows? But I think there's a lot of places that they can go. I have a lot of hope for this film, and it's a movie that's definitely something I'm looking forward to. Hence why I decided to even make a video and talk about it today, because I think it's something that it's one of the movies that I plan on covering here on the channel a bit. It clear up some of the confusion out there about people saying that maybe it's a sequel to the 2013 movie. No, it is in the original timeline, and people might be saying, well, how is that possible? Because Ash, he has the Necronomicon and and all that stuff. And what I would point to would be this movie. And now, obviously, I haven't seen the movie yet, so I'm not going to say that this is spoilers, but it could be potential spoilers for people that haven't seen it. And that is, in Army of Darkness, there are 3 different Necronomicons. And that's one of the things that the director of Evil Dead Rise has said, that there's more than one Necronomicon. And so while Ash might have his hands on the main Necronomicon, the most powerful one, that doesn't mean that the other versions out there aren't powerful and can't, bring about some Kandarian demons, because clearly they can. And I think that is definitely an interesting avenue that I feel that they are going. Obviously, I could be wrong. I haven't seen the movie, but when you talk about it being in the same universe and the same timeline as Ash Williams, I feel like that's got to be the route that they're taking. And as I said, the director's come out and said that there's more than one Necronomicon. And given that there was 3 different Necronomicons in Army of Darkness, I think that is a given that that is the route that they are taking. And this mother and her sister and this family, they've come across one of the other Necronomicons. And then the final thing I wanted to address in this video is people have been talking about how this film looks so much scarier than maybe some of the other ones, and how intimidating the Deadites look, etc. And I would say that the Deadites have always been pretty scary and pretty unnerving. I think that it's important for people to consider that whether we're talking about the 3 existing movies, or even Ash versus Evil Dead, we tend to be seeing things through Ash's perspective, or an Ash versus Evil Dead, Kelly and Pablo's perspective as well, and they definitely have more of a humor to them. They brought levity to things. Especially Ash. Basically, what I'm going with it is just because Ash is pretty devil-may-care, if you will, about the Deadites and everything. He's encountered them, quite a bit. And when you go back to the first movie, he was pretty terrified of it as well. So what I'm saying is that even though he brought a lot of levity to the franchise, when you go back and look at and think about how someone that hasn't had that kind of experience with the Deadites, how would they respond? They would respond more with your traditional horror. So it's not that I think that the Deadites that we've seen in the trailer are that much scarier or anything than any of the Deadites that we've seen before. I would say that they're more in line from what I would expect out of an Evil Dead Deadite, to be honest. It's just the characters around the Deadites, they haven't experienced this before, so you're seeing it through fresh eyes from a fresh perspective, and of course it's going to be a lot more terrifying. But there's nothing that I've seen in the trailer that makes me say, oh, that's so much scarier than anything we've seen before. I would say no. This is just more of what you should expect from an Evil Dead movie. And I think that's a good thing. And I'm not saying that I don't think it will be the scariest one. I think that there's probably a lot of truth to that. But what I'm saying is don't write off the old Deadites and say these ones are so much scarier. I would say no. Deadites have always been creepy. They have always been scary. They've always been given creepy smiles and stuff like that. So it's just more, par for the course for Deadites, in my opinion. Well, there it is, everyone. That is my video for you guys today. Hope you'd enjoy it. Thanks, everyone, for watching. And, make sure you hit that like on the way out. And, go down in the comment section, and tell me what you think about Evil Dead, your history with the franchise, and all that good stuff. And I'll be seeing you guys later. Take care, everyone.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, we got merch store. If you want to take a little piece of the show with you, you can get it right here. We got everything. You want some Mikey J stuff? We got the Mikey J Productions for you. So take a chance and stop by. We'll take care of you.